Alright, so we're gonna try something new. The developers of SimAirport here. I'm Arthur.
Hi, this is Robert.
Hey Rob. Alright, we're gonna try something new. We're going to try to put together a video. Never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. If it's something you guys like, we may try to do more of them in the future. So just gonna kind of talk through what we've got in the current patch. I think every time we have a patch, we end up feeling like there's not much in it. And then we kind of look at the list at the end, and there's always more than we kind of expected. We changed the grass. It looks a lot better now. We had grass in here originally, and then over time it ended up kind of stretched out. What you guys were seeing had basically just been a green color. And so we finally took some time and fixed that. Hope you guys agree, it looks a lot better. We tried to get a handful of things like that into this patch. Another one along those lines is the office desk, which had been driving some of you guys crazy. It was annoying to us too. And you're now gonna see the office chair lines up with it much better. Kind of also along those lines, we've added staff doors. Another one you guys have been really asking for. Only your staff are gonna be able to get through these doors, not flight crew or anything like that. We're gonna be doing more with these in the future, including like one-way doors. But yeah, we're really happy to get that in. We'll get the pass look a little bit better here in the future, but just another good one. We made a few tweaks to some sprites. The ticketing desks now line up a little bit better. This was something a few of you had asked for on the forums. So you just get that more realistic commercial look. You know, we got a handful of those. Toilet stalls, the doors will always end up closed. Some improvements to like I think you had, Robbie, the stairs improved.
Yep, those were getting reset after deserialization, and they're gonna line up better with the actual aircraft tube itself.
But the aircraft are still tilted or something, huh?
Yeah, they're still driving in there and not parking quite aligned. We're gonna get that fixed pretty soon.
Cool. That's a good deal. I know we hear about that one quite often. It is on our radar. What else did we get in this patch?
I know the foundation tool is finally fixed.
It is?
Previously, there was an issue where if you drew the foundation right here, there'd be one tile left over right here, which is quite annoying.
Weren't there like double walls happening and stuff? I know people have been not real thrilled about the way this worked for a while, and have been driving us nuts.
Yeah, it was quite quirky to use. You'd either have to choose between getting rid of this inner wall or ending up with two walls on this side. There was no way to just expand the foundation with leaving this wall here. And now you can see it's fixed right there.
It's like it reads your mind now. You know, little stuff like this though, we know it drives you guys crazy. It's frustrating. So, you know, we try to circle back to this kind of thing, but we can't get them all right away. But it's really nice to have this one finally crossed off the list. Another one, we made some updates to the fuel system. I think, Rob, you got cost basis being shown, some actual demand. You got some more data being recorded.
Yep, a few minor requests implemented, fairly straightforward. We can open that up real quick. Yes, we added a new heads-up display for the fuel on the main navigation. You can see it right here with all the quick stats that you might be interested in throughout the day. Over on reserves and capacity, you'll see that once you've set up the fuel system and got it running and all that, you'll actually see what your cost basis was, which is basically the amount of money you spent on that fuel that you've got in your storage right there. It'll help you be able to price it going forward without having, to make sure you're still profitable or whatnot.
And I mean, just in the time you've been talking, I noticed fuel has gone down about 30 cents.
Yep, this market price model is a little bit more advanced now. It's basically a composite of a few different trend lines, which is basically you've got a really small trend line, which is going to contribute a lot of the noisiness. But throughout the day, you're not going to see it really hit the min and max value quite so often now. So it'll be a little bit more stable, a little bit more realistic, and overall much improved.
And is it going to stay this volatile? I mean, it still seems a little volatile.
Right, yeah, at the 10x game speed, it's still quite a little bit too volatile than what we might expect in real life, but we're probably going to revise it a little bit more and make it less gameable, because one of the issues with it right now is it's almost too easy to make money with the fuel exchange, just kind of sitting here, buy low and sell high.
Yeah, I saw one guy's review said he was trying to be OPEC and making millions every day.
Right.
So yeah, I think it probably does still need some tweaks. I know a lot of you guys are enjoying the fuel stuff. I'd like to tie it in more with the rest of the game still. But yeah, any suggestions you guys have on more ways to kind of push the fuel stuff to its boundaries? It's a pretty neat system. There's still a lot more ideas we have. It's just kind of a matter of what's going to make sense, what's actually going to be fun. And we weren't even sure if you guys would like, the buy sell type stuff. And it sounds like definitely some of you guys are really into it. So we'd definitely be interested in other ideas. And then I think we need to tone it down a little bit still so that guys can't be OPEC.
One other change here too is we moved it to 11 p.m. daily delivery, which is going to help with the financial reporting.
Yeah, and we also now right before the end of the day is taxes, which is a new addition this cycle. We've now got property taxes and income taxes added. This will be charged to you at the end of the day. There's a few new research items that allow you to reduce your tax rates. Boy, looking at this screen, I'm excited. We're in the middle of a project to really update the UIs. Really think you guys are gonna like them. Things look really sharp. We're excited to bring that out to you because UIs like this we know need help, and they're being worked on. So we've got a couple of different levels of tax break you can research. We've added a finance VP that you can hire. We've also kind of adjusted some pricing here. Taxes now, the property taxes are going to go up substantially as you expand your airport in size. We adjusted the prices on a number, especially research and land expansion. And you also see that runways have been adjusted a little bit. There have been some pricing adjustments to try to kind of level out the ramp of the game so it's not quite, honestly, so it's not that easy. We're hearing a lot of people, after 10 or so game days, they have enough money to do everything. And we're trying to kind of level that out so there's a little bit more challenge. And in the future, it'll of course be getting more challenging. We'll have random events and all kinds of stuff where you can't just go to sleep and wait for more money the next day. But in the meantime, we'd want to try to get a little bit of a ramp going and just try to balance things a little bit more. So this is a map that somebody sent in that they're having some stuck aircraft, it looks like. Pretty new thing we've got here in this patch, kind of cool. I know a lot of you guys had wanted it, and this map shows it pretty well. Is one-way taxiways. The player that sent this in had used one-ways for everything. It's a new tool here, the taxiway direction tool, which you can just click on, and then you can just continue clicking on any taxiway to change the direction that taxiway is going to go, and then that's the only direction that you'll be able to go with it. Kind of nice tool. I know a lot of you guys had been asking for it. It took us a while to get to, but it should help you. This may not be quite the best way to use it, but you could do a lot with it, probably help you keep from ending up with stuck aircraft quite like you're seeing here. And of course the ramp agent also will help that a lot as well. All right, something else we've got new this month. We didn't even plan to work on this one Sunday. I was just kind of looking for something to do and I couldn't help myself, and I started playing with runways. And something we planned on doing for a while, but just kind of stumbled on getting it done is intersecting runways. So we now have intersecting runways. This is pretty common in real life. Now you guys will be able to do things like this and just have much more realistic configurations. Tons of airports in real life have intersecting runways. from probably about day one, it was something you guys were asking for. Again, we weren't setting out to get that done this patch, but we did get it out there. Works really, really well. And just, yeah, another nice thing. Should give you a lot more options on what you can do now that you can get some overlap happening. We made some tweaks to the aircraft pathfinding. A lot of you have asked us to try to prevent the aircraft from using runways as taxiways. And we've had that in there for a long time to weight against the aircraft choosing those paths, but sometimes they just do if there's no other path or it's just a much shorter route. We've increased that weighting pretty substantially this round. It may take a little getting used to. We've heard some people and seen some maps though where that increased weighting actually makes things worse. There's only so much we can do for every single layout though. What I think I'd like to do is probably have this just be a setting. You'd probably be able to research it. Then you can just choose for each runway how willing you are to allow it to be used as just a through-fare taxiway. It's not something we got in for this round, but something we definitely entertain for the future. We also, with the new runways, we now have concrete runways. Right now in this patch, there's really no difference. The concrete runways are going to cost a little bit more. We got pretty close on getting some new maintenance mechanics done. Not quite ready though, so we'll be holding off. We'll try to hopefully get those into this next cycle though. But for right now, it's just kind of aesthetic. But in the future, the concrete versus asphalt will make a difference.
There's one issue in this patch that's still not solved, but the aircraft are taking off from the center of the runway sometimes, and sometimes they're actually not aligned with the center of the runway either. You can see them almost driving on the grass when they take off. Unfortunately, yeah, we didn't get to solving that this round, but we'll have it on the next round.
Yeah, it's ugly too. I saw somebody posted pretty recently here, and they said that, you know, they'll kind of do the shuffle and then they get almost onto the runway and they turn on the afterburners and they just fly off.
Yeah. Like
zoom. Yeah, it's on our radar. It's something I definitely want to get fixed. You've already made some pretty good progress on it. Yeah, it's not going to be in this cycle. A couple more. One other miscellaneous one I know had been asked for a good bit is window positions. So now between game saves, these windows are going to be in this exact same position they were in. So no matter what, you can now save your layout the way you want it. And when you load the game back up, that's where things are going to be, even between different gameplay sessions. Little stuff, but you know, there's really a decent number of quality of life improvements in this patch. We are listening. We try to get to them. It's just a matter of balancing our time. We have the new UIs underway, so we're not going to put a ton of time into the current UIs at this point until we get switched over to the new stuff. But you know, we try to listen and get some of these little things. So another one, we know the baggage system is still driving you guys crazy. It's frustrating. It's just the UI is not real great. Made a few adjustments this round that hopefully will help with this a little bit. One of those is that we have, see if I can show it. So we've changed these error messages. It's another fairly small thing, but previously we had some error messages in here that said something like requires upstream swimmer to get to a downstream. They were really not well worded. It was just hard to understand. So we've adjusted that, and now you're gonna see messages that are just a lot more clear. It just clearly says requires connection from a baggage hub. Should be a lot simpler. If you try to link it up directly to the depot, it's just gonna say that exact same thing, that it needs to connect to a hub. Sorry, from a hub. It really should just make this. You should be able to kind of fumble through it a little bit better for your first or second try, and then you probably have it down pat like this map obviously has.
Do we have any plans to revise the baggage system anytime soon?
You know, I think it's a point of contention. I know that. I know there's still players out there that really don't like it. we're still listening to you guys' feedback to tell us. We're totally open to making changes here. It's just kind of a matter of to what. It works pretty similar to what it originally did, with just some additional logic, a little bit, it's a little bit more challenging, but it's not overly challenging, I don't feel like. I mean, the goal is not to be a gimme, but to add some, some challenge. It shouldn't be, you should have to plan it out a little bit in advance. I really think that with some UI improvements, I think we probably eventually need to just get rid of the colors. I think that would go a long way. And then give some more meaning to the numbers. We already record a lot of them, but make the distance mean something. Make the carousels only be able to handle so much baggage at once. Some stuff like that. I really think that this will be solid. But as always, honestly, it comes down to what do you guys want? We're not trying to make things be frustrating or annoying. I promise that. It's just a matter of striking that balance between challenge and function versus, just a flood fill of painting in every tile and not really having any meaning or any purpose.
Yeah, there needs to be a little bit of difficulty, but
I know you're of the opinion it should be a little less difficult, huh?
There's the baggage hubs kind of just seem like a placeholder right now. If we could get them to be more like, I know when we first started this, we were considering them more to be like logic gates or splitters. They do function similarly to that idea right now, but some of the rules with how they're allowed to be connected are potentially open to being changed in the future. We'll see.
Downright frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost starting to be of the opinion that like that kind of thing we should maybe have either a much bigger object or it should be a zone and come indoors. When we get into multiple levels, I think that maybe becomes more realistic, just space constraint. But maybe it should just be a zone that you can either hire staff to do the moving or build some very expensive machinery to do the sorting. I guess suffice it to say, though, like it's not final. Nothing is really ever final. We'd like to think that things like queues and stuff like that are pretty solid, won't change a ton. But really anything that, we love this game. We want to make things fun. We want to push boundaries with it. We're willing to try pretty much anything. So yeah, if you guys have feedback on it, let us know. We really are listening. We do want to continue to improve stuff like the baggage systems.
The ticketing desks, are those assignable this patch?
You can now assign individual ticketing desks to gates, and this allows you to make so that once a gate is assigned to a ticketing desk, the passengers have to use the gates that are assigned in order to check in for that So it lets you do things like splitting up terminals a little bit better. Yeah, you should be able to have two distinct concourses and two separate ticketing areas and be able to really control your passengers much, much better. They're still going to figure out the security themselves. They should make good decisions on that like they have been. But this just kind of extends that control that you have all the way through to the ticketing side. We did some similar stuff with these assignments this patch. It also requires research. But you can now assign the flow of security. So you can say that this ID check stand, you always want the passengers to use this bag scanner or this bag scanner. Now, with it assigned like this, they'll never use the bag scanners down here. And so then you can really get custom security flows that, just tweaked exactly to your liking. Instead of them using their built-in algorithms, which while they're smart, they're not always perfect. They're just not always what you want. And that's kind of what we want to be able to do with this is let you choose. You can set it up however you want now. And then you can take that further. You can also assign the metal detector, the body scanners, so that you get the exact same thing where all the passengers that finish up here, they're gonna now go to one of the assigned metal detectors or body scanners. It's another way to give you even that much more control over how your security stuff functions. And so you can, once you set those up, you can click on anything and you'll see some arrows that point to what the flow is for that. And then if you don't have anything set up, for instance, this ID check stand, it's going to continue to work as it did before. Although if they end up picking this one, then they'll be required to go to one of the next two. Basically, however you've got it set up. You know, this was just kind of something we threw in. We thought it was a good idea. Seems to really, we're trying to push more this direction in general, give you guys more control over this kind of thing. We're also trying to bring in some more advanced objects as well. This patch we've added, let's see, we don't have any room here. We've added remote security scanners, added remote bag scanners. These work pretty much the same as the normal ones, except that they require a remote security station to be assigned to them. And so we'll build one of those. And we should clear a little bit more space here. And the cool thing about these remote scanners is you can actually hook up more than one to the same security station, which means that you can have one security staff member taking care of that many scanners. And we'll go ahead and explicitly assign these 3. We got some staff came down here. Looks like he's got some extra help. And now you'll see these start to work. And the way these are set up, you can have up to 4 of these assigned to a single security station, and they'll continue to function at the same speed. If you go over 4, they're going to start to get a little bit slower.
Why is that? Is that to model the staff not having enough attention for all the scanners? Exactly.
Yeah. What we launched, when we launched the feature initially, we didn't have that in there, and it became pretty apparent that, you know, it's very exploitable and just not realistic. You can't have one guy monitoring 70 bag scanners. And so the way it'll work right now is just, it's a lot more realistic. It won't just immediately drop off as you add more beyond 4. It's just going to slowly start making all of them a little bit slower as the staff member kind of directs his attention from one to the next. But it's definitely an efficiency gain. It should let you set up nice, slightly more efficient airports and shed some staff costs.
Alright, so one thing we added this patch to is the flight crews, which you'll see appearing on some flights. The actual chance of a flight crew appearing on any given flight is determined by the aircraft itself, so smaller aircraft aren't going to have multiple flight attendants or anything crazy like that. It'll be pretty reasonable. It'll be fairly hands-free. They're going to just do their own thing. They'll spawn on their own and they'll board the flight. The one thing that was added to accommodate this feature too is we've got a new queue type, which we can see, whoops. And if we zoom in here, we can actually see the pendant here. This shows the different queue types. And we can see that flight attendants and pilots have already arrived for the first flight of the day that's just arriving.
So the flight crew, that they have to go through security?
Yep. Obviously, they won't need to visit ticketing at all. If we did make it so if you're trying to assign a queue that's designated as flight crews, you won't need them on ticketing. But you will see flight crews going through security, and once through security...
Do they use the bathroom or anything?
Nope. They're just, they're pretty basic right now. They don't do anything too special, but it can be a problem if you don't have a queue for the flight crew to get through, because otherwise if you uncheck this, they're not going to be able to get through security because there's no other queue to go through. So you've got to make sure you can accommodate them through all your basically security only. At the gate agent desk, you're not going to need a queue for them either, because they'll head up there, they'll check their paperwork or whatever, and then they'll just proceed to board the flight. Cool. You can see this flight crew just came off of the plane, so they rotated the shifts, and these guys are actually headed home right now. So,
gotcha. Cool. So, I mean, in the future, we can do cool stuff with them. We can have them use it in the bathroom or checking the weather, something like that, huh?
Yep, we're probably going to have different lounges available pretty soon. That's one feature that's been highly requested.
Yeah, we want to do, we're going to be doing for sure some kind of flight crew lounge. I know though everybody's always been asking for first class lounge. It's something we've got in the works. We also have a general aviation lounge that's in the works. We spent a lot of time on general aviation this patch. It was actually, that was one of the things we really had kind of set out to get in this patch. You know, we've got Cessnas and my favorite Cirrus and some aircraft like that. And right now we've got them working pretty well. It's just not quite ready. Didn't make it into this round, but should be in the next. And that should really help with balance. And just to get back with what we're talking about, there's going to be some similarities with the flight crew where they've got general aviation lounge, and how well your general aviation stuff does is going to come down to how nice of a lounge you have, if you have certified flight instructors, and some stuff like that. So some cool new stuff on the horizon. In addition, I see we've got is that a flight crew that's hanging out? The pilot's hanging out?
Believe so, yes. It must be for the next flight.
They got there early, huh? They brought their laptop, though. So that's pretty cool new feature. I mean, it gives you something else that you got to make sure you're able to get them through. I see you got something.
Yep. So in this case, you can see that there's a warning on the gate itself to notify you if there's any problems that flight crews might experience trying to get to their flight. So in this case, there's a problem with security, and in that case, we need to assign it to the queue that actually can accommodate them. So.
Gotcha, because it wasn't assigned yet.
Yep. Cool. And these little pendants on the queues are a little bit improved over what we did previously with coloring the actual sprites themselves, which didn't look too appealing. This system isn't too perfect because you still have to, I mean, it can kind of just get confusing looking at the queues to understand where the path is, but it's much better than it was actually. So
yeah, I mean, incremental improvement, that's the name of the game. You guys know how we are. We like to ship builds to you as often as we can. And you know, I read a comment somebody mentioned it's kind of like boiling a pot of water. If you're feeling it constantly, you may not seem like a lot has changed, but over time, you know, all these little things, they really add up. We hope you agree. We really do try to make as big a change as we can and continue improving. And we really do try to listen. And I mean, that was a great example actually on the flight status screen that Rob pulled up. A user suggested this on the forum. It's not perfect yet, but it does give you kind of an at-a-glance indication of what, you know, how you're doing on times, if you're getting your departures off on time. And what I'm talking about is just these little red and green. I think that they'll turn yellow as well. But just little things like that that are nice quality of life improvements that hopefully will help you guys in managing your airports. Got anything else here?
Are there any performance improvements on this patch? I believe there's something related to construction.
Yeah, we got, I mean, we hear you guys. We know you guys want better performance. When we launched back in March, I mean, I think you could maybe get 100 passengers running around. We know you guys still want more performance. We're working on it. We're trying to make better use of multiple cores and all that. But one area that had really been a problem was when you're building stuff, you know, you'd get this huge hitch every time a building task or job completed. We made some changes, and now you really shouldn't have any of those kind of hitches. It should be much smoother. It's going to be a lot easier on overall RAM usage during those after construction jobs complete. You really should see a pretty significant improvement, especially during construction. There were a couple other performance things. I know we had some object pooling stuff I think you worked on, Rob, and some vehicle pathfinding that neither of us wanted to work on.
Yep, the vehicles, the pathfinding requests for those are now threaded.
So is that like multiple core? Everybody's like, make this, it doesn't use all the cores, or is that what this is?
Yep, it'll put it on a thread, and whichever core is available, the CPU will schedule it there. So it should allow for greater performance if, I mean, it does vary by hardware if you've even got a CPU with multiple cores, but we should see better utilization on that regard. So
cool, and that's good too, because in this patch we also increased the number of private vehicles that are going to be dropping off and picking up passengers at your airport. We had slowed this down because it was after launch it was just too challenging. We now have that turned up a good bit higher. As your public transit capacity gets exhausted, you're going to see more and more cars. So you really got to keep an eye on your roads again and make sure that you're not letting them get flooded. You're going to see taxis in there. It's going to put a bigger emphasis again back on the roads, and it's great too that we got the performance improvements. So you really shouldn't. It should still run. It should run faster than it did before, even though you're going to see a lot more cars. So what are we going to work on next patch?
A lot of that is going to be focused on revamping the UI or introducing some of the new UIs. It looks much better. I wish we could have some screenshots here, but beyond that, we're also close to finishing up the general aviation implementation.
Yeah, we've got general aviation is definitely going to be coming. It's not huge, but it should be a nice welcome change. Should add to the progression. Yeah, oh yeah, the UIs. I think we'll try to post some screenshots of those. Start getting your first impression, but you guys should be seeing those in game on the Edge branches pretty darn soon. We're really excited about them. It's gonna be a little bit of a change. May take some getting used to, but really it's just a much sharper look. I think you guys will really like it. A lot of thought's been put into the usability. It should really be a nice change. We're also, we've got the roadmap out there. It's really 3 major things on it that we haven't hit yet. Those 3 things are staff intelligence, scheduling assignments. That's one of them. Another is translations. We know this is a hot topic. We know you guys want it. And then the third is, the big one. We've called it the Holy Grail before. We're excited to do it. We're going to do it, is the multiple floors. We had to wait a little bit to get going on the multiple floors. We've been working on some of the supporting stuff. We needed to wait for some new features in the engine to come out. And right now we're actually waiting on a bug fix before we can start shipping you that code. But we're making progress on it. We're probably a little bit behind. I'm kind of guessing that, some of these things that weren't on the roadmap, flight crews, general aviation, the lounges, there's stuff, we've told you guys in the forum that we want to get in. We're excited to get in. They're planned. So, sometimes we're going to be going back and forth a little bit. I won't be shocked if we're off by a month or so getting the roadmap completed, but we're working on it. At the end of the day though, our main goal is to just keep shipping you guys a better game. We want to keep improving. Hopefully you feel the game has been improving, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Just continue making the game better.
Yep, more things to do and better experience overall, so